Hi guys, welcome back. In today's video I'll be showing you how to make this cute and stylish bucket hat with scrap fabric. So for this you need your head measurement, and we'll be making 3 patterns for the hat: the top, the body and the brim. I'm using some of my scrap fabric from the making of this tiered miniskirt with shorts, and I'm starting with the top of the hat. So for the top, divide your head measurement by 6.28 to get the radius. Go ahead and fold your paper like I did, then mark round to get your circle. I'm just going ahead now to connect my points together. I'm also going ahead to add my seam allowance that will be used to join this to the body of the hat. Now I'm cutting out my circle, and I'm just labeling my pattern and going ahead to transfer my seam allowance all around the circle. Now go ahead and measure the circle, or half of the circle, or you can measure the circle and divide it by 2. Then rule a line equal to the measurement that you get, and now we're creating a rectangle for the body of the hat. I decided to make my rectangle 3 inches, but this is based on your preference. Now just go ahead and cut out the rectangle. I'm just folding it to create crease lines because we will need to go in and slash through to spread one end of that rectangle. So now, like, I'm slashing 2 but not through, so slash enough that you have a hinge. So now I'm pasting onto fresh pattern paper because I'll need to go ahead to spread that end that we slashed. So now I'm just adding 1/8 of an inch in between each slash line. So this depends on how wide you want your hat to be. But bear in mind that this is half of the hat. So whatever measurement you get here will be multiplied by 2. So don't make it too wide. Now I'm going ahead to add my seam allowance round. And cutting out the body of my hat. Now for the brim of the hat, go ahead and measure what you have at that point, the wider part of the rectangle, to get the measurement for the brim of the hat. So now I'm just going in to create another rectangle that will be used to create our brim pattern. I also made this 3 inches long, or 3 inches wide rather. Now I'm just going ahead to cut out my rectangle. Next, I'm going in to fold it to create crease lines just like we did for the body of the hat. And I created 4 crease lines. Then I'm just going ahead to roll out so I can slash the lines. At this point, I decided I even wanted more crease lines, so I went ahead and folded it to get 8 lines. Now I'm just going in to slash my lines so I can spread my rectangle. Now I'm going ahead to paste it on fresh pattern paper, and for this I added 1/4 of an inch in between each slash, but this again depends on how wide you want the brim of your hat to be. Next, I went in and added my seam allowance all round. And now it's time to cut out the pattern. So now we have our 3 patterns: the top, the body and the brim. Now I'm just going ahead to place it on my scrap fabric and cut it out. So I'm just trying to get the most out of this fabric, out of the scrap. So for the top, I cut out 2 pieces for the inner and outer piece because yes, I'm making a reversible bucket hat. So for this you can use 2 different fabrics or a plain and pattern fabric to get the most out of this bucket hat. So for the body of the hat, I initially planned to cut it on a fold, but seeing as I don't have a long enough fabric, I decided to cut 2. So I'm going to be needing 4 pieces, so I will join 2 together to make 1 piece for the outer part and 1 piece for the inner part. I also did the same thing for the brim. So for this I made sure to add seam allowance on the edge that did not initially have seam allowance, since now we'll be needing to join it together. So once all this is done, I'm just going ahead to mark the wrong and the right side, and also transfer my notches, because this is really essential when it's time to join the patterns together. So now I'm just laying out all my patterns so you guys can see. So for the top, I have 2 pieces. For the body, I have 4 pieces, and for the brim, I have 4 pieces. So now I'll go ahead and join the body together. I'll join the 2 sides together so I can have 2 pieces for my body. I would also do the same thing for the brim, join the 2 sides together so I can have 2 pieces for my brim, and the top I'll leave it as it is. So I'm just going ahead now to join all these pieces together. So now I'm going in to pin the top of the hat and the body of the hat. So we'll join the side of the rectangle that we did not spread to the top of the hat. So I'm just going ahead to pin it down. So the wider part of the rectangle will be down. Basically, we're not pinning the wider part of the rectangle, we're only pinning the part of the rectangle that we did not spread to the top of the hat. So I'm doing this for the inner and the outer piece of the hat. So if you're having 2 different fabrics, just pin the top and the body of the 2 different fabrics together. Now I'll go ahead and sew it round. Just make sure to match your notches, and this is the result. It looks so much like filler. Now it's time to work on the brim of the hat. So I'll go ahead and join the wider part of the brim together. So I'm just going in to match my seams and my notches. So I'll sew it round, and after sewing it round, I'll go ahead and give it a good press so it lays flat. I'll also iron the other part of the hat. So now this is what it looks like. I'll go ahead and edge stitch that part of the hat down. Now I'm just going in to place my 2 hats into together. So I'm placing wrong sides together so it's the good sides that are visible. So I'll just pin everything down, match my notches, match my seams, so everything aligns properly. So now I'll go ahead and sew the edges together. So now I'm just going ahead to pin the top of the hat together so it doesn't move, because I want to go in and sew stitches, just sew around this hat to give it this effect that I want and like. So now I'm just going ahead to sew it round using my machine foot as to help me space it. So now I'm going to go ahead and attach the brim to the rest of the hat. So I'll pin one half of the brim to the hat. Simply pin right sides together, but they are both right sides. So I'm just going to pin one half of the brim to the hat, match my notches, match my seams so it aligns properly, and I'll go ahead now and sew it round. So now I'm just going to flip it over so the good sides of the brim are showing. So this is what it looks like right now. I'll go ahead and fold in my seam allowance, just as you can see me doing here, and then I'll edge stitch that all the way around. So I'm going to edge stitch my seam allowance just to the lower part of the body of the hat. So I've pinned it down and now it's time to sew it round. So pinning it just makes it easier. So just take your time. Once that is done, I'll go ahead and sew stitches round just like we did for the body of the hat, so I can have that effect all around my hat. So I'm just using my machine foot to help me even out my spacing. So this is what our hat looks like, nice both on the inside and the outside. So this is a really good way to make a reversible bucket hat. You can use a plain and pattern fabric. And now this is me rocking the hat. I really love the outcome. The only thing I would change is the length of the body. If I'm going to make another one, I'll probably make it about 1 inch shorter. But this is really nice. This was my first attempt and I think it came out lovely. Let me know what you think down below and I can't wait to see your recreations. That's it for this tutorial, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.